Blog Talk Radio.
Down to sleep, lay me down. I pray my soul is mine to keep. My soul can never step outside this bed, never into all the evil. Now back from the dead.
Are you scared?
He's here.
Society.com and Living Dead magazine. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's good to be back. We're going to have a great show this evening. In our main interview at 8:30 this evening, we are going to have Andrea Albin and Joanna Shirley of Bloody Bombshell Entertainment on. Andrea is the owner and president. Joanna is the VP of Bloody Bombshell. They operate as a full-scale film production and live event company. They focus primarily on horror, grindhouse, action, crime, dark comedy, and taboo filmmaking. In our indie spotlight this evening, we are going to have Eugene Normal on from the Northern Arizona Horror Society to talk about their page on Facebook and what it is they're doing out there. So we'll have that at about 8:12. This evening, we will also be reviewing Scream Factory's Blu-ray release of Motel Hell, and I have to tell you, this is probably, I know I've said it every time they put one out, but I've really got to tell you, I think Motel Hell may be one of the best Blu-ray DVD combinations that they have ever put together. I really, really enjoyed that. And before that, in our other digital dismemberment DVD review, we are going to be reviewing Entertainment One's Stitches, which is another movie I want to speak very highly of, and I don't think that it gets enough praise. And don't forget, throughout the evening, we will also be featuring several bands in our Metal Blade Spotlight, including Channel Zero, Dictated, Kings of Asgard, and we have some brand new Dragon Force. Now, I know may that sound funny to some of you listening to what I listen to, but I do find Dragon Force to be a lot of fun. So, since we are going to have our first guest in about 8 minutes, let's go ahead and move into our first digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
Our our first film tonight in our digital dismemberment DVD reviews will be Dark Sky Films and, make sure I get the company name, E1 Films, Stitches. An amazing film, to say the least. I would really say that writer-director Connor McMahon and the stars in the film, Ross Noble, Tommy Knight, Eugene McQuinn, spectacular job. But to give you a little bit of background info on this film, from the press release, and this was released on April 2nd of 2013, by the way, world-renowned stand-up comedian Ross Noble stars as a murderous kid's birthday party clown for director Connor McMahon, who did Dead Meat and The Disturbed, in Stitches, debuting with special April Fool's Day screenings in select cities on April 1st of 2013. For fans who can't catch the rampage on the big screen, Stitches will also be available on VOD, digital download, Blu-ray, and DVD April 2nd from MPI Dark Sky Films. Years after a kid's cruel prank, years after their prank on young Tommy Knight, Doctor Who, birthday left hired clown Stitches dead on a kitchen floor, Tommy's childhood friends gathered to plan one last birthday party to end all parties. But they didn't count on the degenerate jester returning from the grave to seek vengeance on the teens who caused his untimely end. Now, Tommy and his friends are on the run from an undead jokester who's ready to use every trick in the book to exact his revenge. Director Connor McMahon delivers a delirious slasher with Stitches, the hilariously twisted and blood-soaked tale of one very bad clown. The film was a winner of the Best Death Scene Prize at Fright Fest, and also an official selection at Stitches, Telluride, and the Brussels Film Festival. You know, when people would initially look at the film, and yes, the film certainly has a lot of comedic elements to it, especially when it comes to some of the death and murder sequences. But I really, really enjoyed how Ross Noble played the character of Stitches and how he goes about getting his revenge. Now, don't think, when you hear comedy, don't think this is all very slapstick, because it's not. Some of the gore sequences and the makeup effects were extremely fascinating and very well done for a film of a lower budget. And again, just the way that Ross played the character of Stitches was, like I said, it definitely carried. I would certainly hope that there would be a sequel for this film. But there's the big party going on for Tommy, and all of his so-called friends from high school and the girl that got away and everything are there. And all throughout the evening, Stitches goes about in various assorted and gruesome ways, and finding ways to make them comedic, as in a clown doing it. Murders. There's one particular scene where a young man has his intestines ripped out and blown up into a balloon animal. Another young man has his head exploded with an air pump for pumping up balloons. Actually, it's the same kid. One kid has the top of his head cut open like a can, and his brains are scooped out with ice cream. So there's all kinds of great gags. One of the things that really caught my attention about it, for some of you that are fans of Italian films, there's a film called Cemetery Man, and the reason to bring that film up is, especially when they get to the graveyard in Stitches, a lot of the cinematography, the lighting, the way some of the shots were paced, reminded me very much of that film, and it is certainly meant as a compliment. If the director is a fan of that, or anyone else is a fan of it, really go back if you've never seen Cemetery Man, go back and watch that, and look at how the scenes are set up near the end of Stitches, and I think you'll see a lot of similarities. I think the story was pretty original, in my opinion. Sometimes I have a hard time with horror comedies, especially when it seems like they dip too far into the comedic end of it and not so much with the horror. I think Stitches combines the two elements very well, and I feel like it's a film that should definitely be checked out. Over time, I could see this being a cult status film. The comedic elements, when played right with a clown, work really well for the development of the story. And a lot of the murder sequences are based on pranks that the children had played on Stitches while at the original party where he died. A rather particularly gruesome death where he trips, or his shoelaces are tied, and he trips and falls, and he gets a kitchen knife through the eye, and it's actually quite gruesome. Again, the teenage characters, they all played their parts, to the T. We have your, various stereotypes, the cool kid, the athlete, the slut, you have all of those character elements in the film. But again, I think it's something that you'll be able to go back and look on. I think they set a good backstory and a good mythology for him coming back and everything else that goes on with that. So I would definitely go and check this out. I don't know if you can still get this in stores. I thought I saw it in Walmart for a while. But, check around your store bins. If not, I'm sure you can order it directly through Dark Sky Films or E1 Films. And like I said, it is also available for VOD and rental, if you still rent. I would definitely give the film a 7 out of 10. I think there's a lot of good ideas. I think there's a lot of mythology that can be expanded upon at a later time. There is a behind the scenes, which is nice. It's you get a really good view from the director's point, the actor's point. You get to see a lot of the makeup effects and the setup for the death scene. So really good work. It was nice to see that they detailed everything that they did. There's also a blooper section and, of course, the trailer for the film and a host of other trailers for film releases from E1 Films. As far as the special features go, I would love to see the Blu-ray edition and see if they did anything different. I thought the film was beautiful on regular DVD. I would love to see it in high def just to see if there is any difference. I would rate the special features on this at a 7 out of 10 as well. So definitely head on out and pick up a film from an independent film director who I think is going places and that I hope to see more from here in the near future. But coming up here in a second, we're going to have the people from the Northern Arizona Horror Society on to talk about what they've got going on. So I think we should just go ahead and bring on Eugene Normal. Eugene, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good, man. I'm glad you can make it onto the show. I saw on Facebook where you had taken an interest in the post for tonight's show, so I was like, let's have this guy on and find out what's going on. First of all, tell everyone what the Northern Arizona Horror Society is and what you guys do.
Well, it's a new project I'm working on that I'm looking to promote horror, exploitation films, grindhouse films, just so there's an outlet for people that are interested in this type of film to gather, and I'm going to eventually have screenings here locally. And just, a place for people to gather with like interests and promote, the horror community.
Now, have you guys held any projects at this current time? Have you done any screenings, or what are you guys looking to do here in the near future?
We haven't done any screenings as of yet. It's a brand new project. I've been kicking this idea around for couple months now, and finally I decided, well, it's time to get started with it. I have some friends and acquaintances on the East Coast that run the Hudson Horror shows up in the Hudson Valley in New York, and they've been really successful over the last couple of years, and there's really nothing of that nature going on right now in Arizona, especially northern Arizona, and I thought it was time that we start having something like that up here. There have been a few movies that have been produced up here locally, some horror films, and I just thought it was a good outlet for getting people together and appreciating what almost seems like a genre that's kind of scoffed at, but it's really that's what it's something I'm really interested in promoting.
No, and I mean I definitely get that. When you look at the success of, like I'm lucky I have something here in Durham, North Carolina. We have the Carolina Theater, and every once a month on Fridays they have the Retro Phantasma film series, and they'll usually run a double feature of older horror films. Like you can wind up seeing Halloween 2 and 3, and I mean we've seen some really amazing stuff from them. And then once a year they host the Nevermore Film Festival, which is a horror, fantasy, sci-fi, and that's been really successful over the years, and we've got to see a lot of good films because of that. Now, with what you guys are looking to do, have you found a location? What are you looking to? Are you looking to do a convention style? Are you looking to do more just film premieres, things like that?
I wouldn't mind doing some film premieres. We do have a location here in town in Flagstaff. There's the Orpheum Theater, and you can rent it out. It's an old opera house, and that was converted into a movie theater. And they have the big screen there, and there's seats. It's like an actual old little movie theater. So I have a venue that I'll be able to hold events at.
Now, you guys have also put up a Facebook page for what you're doing. What are you trying to do to help attract attention to your cause? Have you thought about going to other conventions? Are you reaching out to other websites, magazines? Where are you looking to outsource your material, and who are you looking to get your hands to?
Like I said, I have some contacts with the Hudson Horror Society, the Orange Ulster Horror Society up in New York. I plan on going to what few local conventions there are here in the state, but luckily I am close to California and L.A., so as things pick up steam, I'm going to start going to the conventions out there to promote the scene here, and I've also looking into getting some contacts with Fangoria and Scream, and I've been posting some stuff off of their sites, citing them and whatnot, and other horror societies across the country, because just because I'm based out in Arizona doesn't mean we can't reach out across the whole country and
sure.
network together and make it a fantastic scene.
Now, speaking of scenes, what's the independent film scene out there like where you are? Are you seeing a lot of homegrown independent horror films being made?
Actually, yeah. There's last year there was one that was produced right here in Flagstaff, and they also did some filming down in Brisbane, which is down by the border. It's called Bloody Border, and I'm an acquaintance of the director. I've met him a few times, and I know he's working on a second project right now. There's also, I know about 25 miles down the road is Sedona, and they have a film festival there every year. It's a little more, artsy type stuff there. But I mean, whenever you talk to anybody who's into, who's really into films, there's always that niche of the horror exploitation, grindhouse type films. So I mean, there's a decent network here.
Very nice, very nice. Well, you've told everyone, what you've got going on, what you've got coming up. Tell everyone kind of, what your eventual hopeful goal is. Do you want to run a theater full time? Do you want to do conventions? What it is you want to do, and where people can go to read more about your horror society.
Well, my plans are to hold screenings of older horror exploitation films, preferably in 35 millimeter or whatever they're filmed in locally. Every few months, every 2-3 months. And so, basically do mini conventions up here in Flagstaff, have a screening of, 4 or 5 choice films, get some vendors in here to, sell collectibles and old movie posters, and just kind of have a big horror party is what I'd like to see happen. For contact information, I have a Facebook page under Northern Arizona Horror Society. I just started it up, so, I'm looking to get as many people interested in checking it out as I can. That way I can network some more and make these things happen.
Definitely. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to tell everyone before you head out?
No, just I appreciate you giving me the time to get the word out there about the Northern Arizona Horror Society and this opportunity, and just keep loving films.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Eugene Normal from the Northern Arizona Horror Society. Hopefully we'll be hearing more from him and what's going on down in that part of the country as it pertains to our favorite genre. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we are going to go into our feature interview. We're going to have Andrea Albin and Joanna Shirley on from Bloody Bombshell Entertainment. They're going to tell us about all the projects they've been working on, about how they got into the industry and everything that's going on with that. But before that, we're going to go into a double shot in our first Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. We are going to hear a track from the band King of Asgard off of the album Karg. The name of the song is Total Destruction.
Wow.
of the album Kill All Kings, the song was Dark Passenger. And just before that, you heard King of Asgard off of the CD Karg. The name of the song was Total Destruction. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for our feature interview. Joining us here will be Andrea Albin and Joanna Shirley of Bloody Bombshell Entertainment. And welcome to the show, ladies.
Hello, it's just Andrea right now. I don't know where Joanna is. Is she there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi.
Yes, everyone is here.
Awesome. I'm so sorry. I kept trying
time
to call, and it kept telling me that all circuits were busy. I felt very upset.
But we got you, and that's the important thing. Well, first of all, before we even get into everything, how are you ladies doing this evening?
Oh, we're good. Well, I'm good. Are you good, Joe?
I'm doing good as well.
Well, I mean,
and
that's
what about yourself? How are
hear.
you doing tonight, Michael?
I am not bad. I've been looking forward to this. I've been doing some research into you guys, and I have some questions I think the listeners would like to hear, and we definitely want to hear about what you guys are up to. I just want to give some background I just want to give some background info on your company first. Bloody Bombshell Entertainment was founded in late 2013 by entrepreneur. Is it Andrea or Andrea?
It's Andrea. Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. Everybody always does Andrea, and it drives me crazy. It's Andrea.
Okay, so we got it right. So, Andrea Albin, and specializes in full-scale film production. We also have the VP with us, and that is, of course, Joanna Shirley. You guys kind of tell us about how you two met and what was the decision to get Bloody Bombshell Entertainment going.
Well, those are two very totally different.
Oh, so you go ahead.
Well, initially we met when we were 15, actually. We met as sophomores in high school in Billings, Montana, of all places. And we've been friends ever since, honestly. You know, we've had ups and downs throughout our friendship, and we've kind of become sisters throughout the years. So when I actually moved down to Florida in, what was it, 2011, I actually started working with Andrea on what was then ADA Management Group, and as they say, the rest is kind of history. So, Andrea, I'll let you answer the second half of that question.
Well, Joanna and I, we worked at ADA together, and then I ultimately got the film bug. It really started to eat on me. I mean, I've been working as a screenwriter since I was 19, so it just kind of got to me that we were managing, you know, careers for other people full time, and it was just becoming, you know, I felt like I creatively needed to do something. Well, basically, Joanna thought I was crazy, but I told her I wanted to open up a production company, and lo and behold, we closed ADA Management Group at the end of October last year, opened up Bloody Bombshell Entertainment, and now here we are. So it's been kind of a crazy less than 1 year experience.
And let me add a footnote to that. I always think she's crazy.
There's nothing wrong with crazy. Crazy works more times than people think.
Exactly. I'm not saying that that's, you know, anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, you know, I generally think that we're, not only is she crazy, but I'm also crazy half the time.
Well, see, I'm crazy all the time, too, so this is going to be a great show.
Exactly.
Now, on an end that, you know, of course, I don't own a company or anything, but I've been, you know, I've done production, I've done effects, I've done acting. And, of course, you know, writing for Horror Society and Living Dead magazine and doing the podcast, I have found that sometimes when you approach an actor or a producer or a director or anyone involved with the industry, if they know that you have experience in the field and you know what you're talking about, they're more likely to come onto the show. And, Joanna, the part that I feel like I can relate to you a little bit on is the stuff you did at ADA Management. You know, how much do you feel like that has helped you, you know, having clients like you had Christopher Judge, who was Stargate 1 or Stargate SG-1. You had Vernon G. Wells, who was in Commando and Weird Science. You know, how did those experiences help you when you moved up to your own production company?
Well, let me just say that I haven't been able to get rid of either one of those, nor do I want to. They've actually kind of followed us along and basically told us that they're along for the ride for everything. They're actually coming on as co-producers on a couple of projects with us, and we continue to work with them as far as going out for appearances and other roles and stuff on that end. But as far as what I did as a manager moving forward into production, it really, you know, the manager side of it, I learned a lot of the ins and outs, and I learned a lot of the what to do and what not to do from, you know, different producers that I come across as a manager, and I saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and the really ugly.
Sure.
So, you know, I saw a lot of that, but it also prepared me in the fact that as a producer, you are essentially a manager for an entire cast and crew. You need to make sure that everyone is taken care of, that, you know, the negotiations, it's essentially just the flip side of what a manager does. And I see it more and more where a lot of managers actually go into production because they see the possibilities of projects and these passion projects and these people that they know so well and wanting to really bring life to a different project that they've fallen in love with or one thing or another. I think that my time with ADA Management Group and that time that I spent as a manager for screenwriters, for actors, it's really helped shape kind of my ideals as to what I want to do as a producer.
Sure. Now, Andrea, for you on the flip side, of course, you worked at ADA Management as well as a freelance scriptwriter. Or no, you opened ADA Management in the summer of 2006.
I did,
Sorry,
yeah. And I was still screenwriting at the time too, so it was kind of double duty.
So you have experience on both sides of that as well. Now, what I wanted to ask you was you have certainly the wealth of experience on your end, and of course Joanna has hers as well. But I saw where the company is also owned by Scott Spiegel, and for those of you who don't know who Scott Spiegel is, first of all, shame on you. But, two of my favorite movies, Intruder and Evil Dead 2, and then, of course, Hostel 3 and everything else that he's worked on. How did you get Scott involved? And, when you guys sit down to, having Scott with you, has it opened wider doors that you think you may not have normally gotten to yet?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Scott has been a very important part of my life since I was when I first started. I mean, Scott has been supportive of literally everything I've done, whether it's been, screenplays that I put together or film projects or my company endeavors. Scott has basically, he's family to me. Scott is like a dad to me. We've definitely had our ups and downs. We're a family. I mean, Joanna basically put it the best way that we could is that, like Chris and Vernon are still along with us for the ride, and most of our projects that we have come from clients that we've bridged over from ADA Management Group to where we are now with Bloody Bombshell. And, Scotty, I actually met him. I did an article on him for Bloody Disgusting when I was still writing for the website. And Scott was so happy with me. He thought that I was the best thing that ever happened to him. He had to keep in touch. He came up with these ideas that, most people might have thought were crazy, but I thought that they were awesome. And we just meshed personally, and our friendship blossomed, and we decided that if we ever found a script that we wanted to work on together, we would essentially do it, as a project. And I ended up bringing him a project several years ago. It was right around the time that Joanna started working with me at ADA. We brought him a project, and he said, well, let's do it. And I mean, as an Evil Dead fan and as a fan of Hostel and as a fan of, every film that Scotty's been involved with, it was one of those gut-wrenching moments of, oh, crap, this is really happening. And we took it and ran with it. And, the project that we initially started with, it ended up falling to pieces, and it was just one of those things where we couldn't get people on board. We couldn't get, the funding in place. It was one of the best, worst learning experiences I could have had. But the beauty of it is that Scott was there he was there for the ride. He told me what was right and what was wrong and walked me through it. And, I mean, there is a lot of hand-holding. I mean, Scott has had to teach me a lot of things over the years. But now that we've been business partners, I mean, Fatality Films is the portion of Bloody Bombshell that he co-owns with me. And we specifically work on horror films together, and we work on our projects that me and him have, whether we're producing together or it's something I'm producing that he's writing or something that he's writing that we're producing. It's kind of a two-way street with Scott on that one, and it's great. We're able to flex our creative juices together and have this really cool horror movie company, basically. And I couldn't, as a fangirl, if I could tell my 16-year-old self that this was happening, I mean, she would have a heart attack. But it's beautiful. I mean, honestly, Scotty and I work really well together, and it's been beneficial. I mean, as for doors opening, we also have another silent partner who I met specifically through Scott, who we'll be announcing soon. And, he's introduced me to all the greatest people that I could think of. I mean, Scotty was important. He introduced me to Tim Quill. He introduced me to Bruce Campbell. So, I mean, I've met so many people through Scotty that I might have met them along the way, but Scotty's definitely helped, get us to where we are, and I'm forever grateful to him for that.
I mean, that's just amazing and awesome.
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to work, with someone or to know someone like that is I can only imagine. Now, there are a couple other people that you guys list specifically on your website I wanted to ask you about. What can you tell us about Kayla Lane Crawford, who is your screenwriting specialist and your full-time producer?
Joe, you want to talk about Kayla, or should I? We love her. I just want to put that out there.
We love her. Kayla actually came on, oh goodness, was it about 2 years ago? She originally came on with us as an intern, and she, just took it by the reins. She was very, very active as far as scripts went, and that was where her passion was. And she kind of got a feel for the company, and once she kind of got a feel for Andrea and I, then she brought us a couple of projects that she was working on herself that she wanted to introduce into the Bloody Bombshell portfolio, I should say. And, Andrea and I took a look at it, and we saw, her creative ability was also, amazing. And they were a lot of taboo things as well that most people wouldn't tackle, and that's one thing that Bloody Bombshell is all about, is the taboo, the weird, the things that you wouldn't expect a all-female production team to take on. And so,
and Kayla embraced that about us. It was really hard when we first started. You can only imagine the content we get. I mean, I get everything from torture porn to dark comedy to, I'm working on my crime script. So we have so many different facets of where, which type of film we're working on, and so many different areas. Kayla, she took an interest in everything, and more importantly, she took an interest in me and Joe, and she took a stock in what we were doing. And, when we closed ADA, we gave everybody the option. We said, you can either float with us this direction or you can head the other direction, but we're going this way regardless. And, Kayla came with us, and she's been with us ever since. And I was honored to say that, she was going to move up into a producer position and really start to see where her creative juices would go, because she's an amazing comedian. She's a great screenwriter, and I think she has a lot of potential to make something for herself, and I feel like it's really cool that the three of us get to do it together.
Now, to bring up something that you said, horror for the longest time was pretty much a male-dominated industry, directors, everything like that. And over the course of time, we have started to see more females in the positions of directors, producers, things along those lines. You had made mention of the fact that you guys like to work on taboo and strange concepts. Even knowing that it would make it a harder row to hoe, so to speak, doing that, ultimately what draws both of you to that side of filmmaking? Because you're right, while we may see female horror film directors, it's only been in the recent years, and I would use the Soska twins as a good example of women who have really jumped into that darker side of film.
Right, and Jen and Sylvia, I mean, they embraced it, and I absolutely adore those two girls. I've seen them go from, dead hooker in a trunk to where they are now, taking on Painkiller Jane, and it's great to see two talented women take that on, and like even Ivanka, who's taken on the new Clive Barker film, and you have, all these important women who are stepping up into their own, and I think for me, and I've been saying this since I was a kid. I mean, I've loved horror movies since I was 6 years old. My mom let me watch The Exorcist way too early in life, and I love the idea of adrenaline. I love the idea of being scared. I love the idea of, horrible things happening that you might not see in everyday life, but I love how they look on film, because to me it's an art form, and I think that's where a lot of people misstep when it comes to horror, is that they think that you have to have a ton of blood or you have to have a ton of scares. No, it's how beautiful you make that film. And I think that's why I enjoy foreign horror as much as I do, everything from Martyrs to Suicide Club to Audition. I look at those films, and those are beautiful films to me. And, my grandmother once asked me why I loved horror films so much, and I told her I believe it's an art. And I think ever since then she's kind of chilled out, because she really didn't like me watching horror movies as much as I was. She thought I was strange. But, it was just a part of who I was, and it was a part of growing up. And now that I'm here, I mean, I couldn't have it any other way. Essentially my first jump into directing is going to be a horror film. I want to produce horror films throughout my career. And I think it's an important part where everybody messes up, as they say, it's a subgenre. Yeah, it's a subgenre. I get that, it's out there, it's independent, but it's still an art form. It's still a part of film. And I love that women have taken that and embraced it. And I know that we have. I know that it's been an important part of my career from whether I was writing at Bloody Disgusting or now I'm making films. I mean, it's been an important part of who I am, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, and it's not just horror films either. As of lately, we've seen a major upsurgence of female in geek culture, whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, horror. There's a growing number of women in the field, and while they're still the minority, it's cool now almost for women to be accepted, and you get a lot of trailblazers right now, and that's something that both Andrea and I have always had in common. Is ever since we were teenagers, we've always been the ones to kind of toe the line, and we've gone head-to-head with guys our entire lives because that's where we like to be. Honestly, we have more male friends than we do female friends, and frankly, I want to hang out with my buddies all the time. But honestly, it's so great to see this upsurgence in female power for this male-dominated industry, because I know so many females who love the genre so much, and being able to be one of those trailblazers that proves to the next generation out there that girls can do it just as well, if not better than guys, and being able to pass on this art form, like Andrea said, be it through horror, be it through sci-fi, be it through any number of normally male-dominated fields, is just an honor, and I can't wait to see, just what all we do in the coming years.
Well, and I think what's made us so successful, and what's made, and I always say this, is that you're only as successful as your team. And even though, we're a bunch of strong women making films, I mean, there have been a lot of men who have supported us along the way, everyone from Scotty to, Chris Judge, you talk to him any day of the week. He does, he's a part of what we do. Vernon is like family. He is definitely like a member of this family. Jimmy O'Burrell, any of the men that we've worked with, they've all embraced us. And I think that's what makes the difference, is when people stop separating men from women and they treat us all as equals, and then look at the magic that happens. And I think that's starting to come true. WWE embraced Jen and Sylvia, which is primarily male. There's not a lot of females that are in wrestling. There's not a lot of females that work for that company, but they embraced Jen and Sylvia. And you even have, Clive Barker embraced it. So I love to see that. I love to see the support, as opposed to the, oh, screw them, they can't make movies like this because they're women. And I think that's made a big difference, too, with everything the way that it's been going.
I don't know, to break in, I guess, with a little bit of breaking news, apparently it has just been confirmed that actress Marilyn Burns has passed away.
Oh, my goodness,
Aww.
Really?
You mentioned Jimmy O, who I was getting ready to say something about. It just came across my Facebook.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's definitely very sad.
I was going to say, I haven't seen Marilyn in a couple of years. Wow, that's shocking. Well, hopefully she, I'm not sure if she was sick or whatnot, but I hope that her family, I give them my best, and I hope that everything, turns out okay.
Same here. But since you mentioned Jimmy O, and I was going to mention Jimmy O, since I've interviewed both him and Miss Chainsaw Sally for the website, you guys were producers on their upcoming film, The Darling Clementines. Now, can you give us a little bit of background about, how you met with Jimmy and how you guys actually got involved with The Darling Clementines?
Well, Jimmy came to us, Joe, it's been, a couple of years now, hasn't it?
It's been probably 2 years, if not 2.5.
Yeah, so Jimmy came to us, and we struck a friendship. Jimmy O and I are, we're really close. I consider him, like I said, all of us are really close. So, Jimmy came to us, and we struck a friendship, and we became friendly with April, and this was when we were still at ADA Management Group. And basically where we were is that, they were looking for representation to help, help them with their projects, their current projects, getting them distribution, and we were starting to wind down with ADA, truthfully, at the time that they had, approached us. And we took them on as clients. Actually, they were the last clients that we would have signed, for full-time management. And we took on Jimmy and April. And when we decided to bridge over into film production, I couldn't not work with them. And the reason for that, even obviously, we were close, but at the same time, I was a huge Chainsaw Sally fan. I used to watch it when I was in college. it was just one of those things where, as a horror fan, I just couldn't let, Jimmy O's talent and April's talent, go to waste. And I felt like that's where it was when I had met Jimmy and April. And now, looking at, Chainsaw Sally and looking at the animated series, I mean, we're rocking with this thing. We have Christopher Judge is obviously going to be one of the voices. April is going to be Chainsaw Sally, which is really fitting, obviously. But we also have Tristan Risk, who's going to be a part of it. Jimmy O made his character specific to Tristan, and she's excited to be a part of it. And then, of course, my buddy, Nicholas Brendan. Yeah, Nicholas is going to be a part of it, too. And, I mean, Nikki is really excited. They actually did a convention this weekend, and, Nikki got to talk about it a little bit at his panel. And it's really exciting for all of us. I mean, to see Chainsaw Sally come back to life in a new form, it's awesome. I mean, I am going to be so happy for them. And then on top of it, like you said with Clementine, Jimmy O brought me that script, and most people wouldn't touch it. It's a fucked up mess, to put it quite bluntly, and it's a good fucked up mess. Like, it's one of those that you want to see in horror. It's screwed up. It's awesome. It's well written. It's going to look amazing on screen. And, of course, Vernon jumped in on it, which, gave us even more incentive to move forward. It's just a beautiful movie. I mean, honestly, once we get it on film, it's going to be awesome. But we're definitely working on that. And then Jimmy O is actually developing quite a few other projects as well. So I have a feeling, by the end of 2015, you're going to see a lot more of both him and April, which I know a lot of people are really excited about that.
Well,
yeah,
and I was going to... No, go ahead, please.
Okay, sorry. And I was just going to say a big shout out to Jimmy and April for the fact that, a lot of people know them for the Chainsaw Sally and Good Sisters and their acting ability and directing ability. But a lot of, one thing that they don't know about Jimmy and April is that they are multi-talented. Jimmy and April are fantastic, artists and illustrators. They're authors. They're actually working on a children's book. They have done musical theater that they've written and produced and starred in themselves, and they're constantly reinventing themselves and coming up with new ways for their creative outlets. And so, that was one thing, getting to know them over these last couple of years, is seeing how immensely talented and creative these two are.
Oh, I was going to say, I agree 100%, and it's always nice when you see something up by them, and you're right, how they're always reinventing. I've covered several things for Jimmy. You talked about working on stage and film and, Chainsaw Sally and everything that they've done. And, you mentioned the artwork and everything, which is going to lead into, of course, the animated series. And you guys you're on as executive producers for that. And what I wanted to ask you about that is of course, we know how IMDb is. It says TV series. Are you guys actually looking to get it on TV? Is this going to be more of an internet series? And are you?
Oh,
are
we're
they
looking
just
to do TV. I don't think big. I don't think small when I think of our projects. I'm going for TV. I mean, that's basically what our initial goal was to get it on television. And, we've basically put it into 3 phases. And what we're going to do is initially you're going to see interstitials come up, which are, little 1 to 2 minute shorts to kind of tease you as to what Chainsaw Sally is going to be up to in animated form. And once we get through those, then we're hoping to do like a special, like an hour special. And then from there, we're hoping to have a half an hour animated series on one of the networks. We had been in talks with a couple of networks prior to, everything that was going on this summer. We were just really busy this spring, but earlier in the year we were in talks with a couple of networks, and now we have some things coming to fruition. So it's one of those where I can almost guarantee by the end of 2015, it's going to be on TV somewhere. And even if it did go to web series, because I mean, I'm a producer, I'm a realist. I know that sometimes, what if it got picked up by a TV network and then it got canceled? I would put it on, web series because I want the fans to interact with it. I want the fans to see it. And I think that's what made us so different when we started developing, whether it was with Jimmy O and April or it was with, Chris or it was with anybody that we work with. We support those who support our crazy ideas, and this goes back to us being crazy. And, Jimmy O is very supportive of everything we do because I reassure him this is going to happen, because I'm very into our projects. And I think that, with Chainsaw Sally, if it doesn't go to TV, in the back of my head, I'm like, it's not going to just disappear. I mean, it's going to be there for the fans. I want them to enjoy it. And that's what it comes down to with horror or with any genre-oriented project, is that you want the fans to latch onto it and love it. And I think Chainsaw Sally is going to be it. I think it's going to have that hit series. It's going to have that Archer feel to it. It's going to have that new fan base. And I think it's going to take off and really make Jimmy O and April a household name.
Now, let me ask you about this, because, you know, one of the things I really like about them as independent filmmakers that they are is they're not afraid to push the envelope. And every time they've done a project, they always find a way to up the envelope. Now, you talk about a TV deal. From your perspective, you know, would you want it to be something like ABC, Fox, or would you want it to be something, let's say, that was like AMC, or as an animated series, maybe something on the Sci-Fi Channel or Chiller, or, sorry, I know it seems like an involved question, but I think you see
No, that's fine.
Look at something like the El Rey Network and have it on a station like that. If you had your preference, which one would, of course, network TV would give you more of a spectrum, but something like El Rey would give you your base. You know, what do you see as the pro and cons of it going to one or the other?
The pros of network is the exposure, but the cons of network is you're looking at airplane shots the entire time. I mean, we're going to have to, you know, edit the content. We're going to have to edit the language. We're going to have to, I mean, I can't even edit myself on a podcast. Imagine what I would do on network TV. It would be difficult as hell. So, you know, and I told Jimmy O this as we were developing, and he's even developing a concept right now, and I told him, I'm like, don't censor yourself. Let it flow. Because if there's a network's going to slam a door in my face with half the stuff that we have on our plate, and I know it. And, you know, that was something that Scott had said to me when we first started, is that I'm pushing the envelope because not only am I female, I'm also under the age of 30, and I'm trying to push content that people don't want to see on TV, yet they secretly do. So he told me when we started this that everything was going to work against us. It's just how you put your heart into it. And, you know, I've instilled that in everybody that we work with. And, you know, Joanna knows how I feel about this. I mean, I'm not going to edit anything. You know, I want it to be the way it is. And, you know, if a network approached me and said, you need to make this PG, I would rather go somewhere like El Rey Network or somewhere like even an HBO or an FX or somewhere on cable where the content, we might have to cut out, you know, the F-bombs here and there. We might not be able to show boobs on certain networks, but, you know, I'd rather sacrifice a little bit than everything. You know, because to me, it's about the content, not necessarily the paycheck.
And I honestly don't think that moving away from places like ABC and NBC and stuff on that end is really a detriment anymore. I mean, you see most of the highest-rated television shows are going to be on AMC, FX, Showtime, HBO. It's those uncensored networks that are really gaining popularity. So, honestly, I think people are really wanting those taboo and to have those lines pushed and almost shoved out of the way because they're tired of seeing things that are censored. And so, honestly, if I were to put Chainsaw Sally anywhere, I would go to one of those places that would allow us all those freedoms to let Sally be Sally.
Yeah, basically. Let Sally be Sally. We should make T-shirts.
Right. Well, you know, the only reason I ask is, you know, back in the day, I was, you know, of course, you know, you had your Tales from the Crypt on HBO and all that, but when they did the Masters of Horror series, and you remember, you know, all the hype, you know, this will be uncensored, we're letting the Masters do their thing, and there was the Takashi Miike episode that got banned from a paid cable network that played it at 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only reason why I ask. You know, I'm glad to hear that you would rather go somewhere else than have that restriction put on you, because that effectively, in my opinion, is what killed that series.
Oh, I will fight tooth and nail for it, you know, and this is something that, you know, I met Eli years ago, Eli Roth, and he told me never use, like, and that's why I say airplane shot a lot, because that was actually what came out of his mouth, is that he doesn't do airplane shots. And I never thought about it at the time, because at the time I was 20 years old, writing for a blog. It wasn't like I was as in-depth in the film industry as I am now, but that stuck with me, especially when, I was reviewing films and, I would see the edited version versus what it could have been. And I think that, with, in particular, I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I don't sacrifice content. I want to see the blood. I want to see the gore. I want to see the violence. I mean, I'm even writing a script right now that I took the boundaries so far on that script, I'm almost pushing it to the point where one of my partners was like, you got to take a step back and ask yourself if you really want to put that on film because you're a director. I don't want to be apologetic as a filmmaker, and I definitely don't want to be that way as a producer either because, Jimmy O, he's an amazing mind. I mean, he comes up with concepts that I wouldn't even think of, and I don't want to censor him because when you censor someone like that, it's when you kill who they are. And, I feel that way about all of our screenwriters. I mean, Alex Dosen, who wrote Wrath, I would never censor Alex. He's an amazing writer. Scotty, I mean, some of Scotty's films I've been like, whoa, you actually, and he has a comedic element to it. But, I mean, think about some of the scenes in Intruder. You wouldn't get away with that on network television. So it's come from who I've surrounded myself with. And I know Joanna feels that way, too, just because Joanna and I, even though we have different tastes in where, our horror films are and what movies we watch. And, I mean, we do have similar tastes, too, but, I mean, neither of us want to sacrifice content. It would be like taking a book and butchering it, because both of us are Anne Rice fans. I mean, we love violence and literature, too. So it just comes down to we just want to stay true to what we love.
Well, and, you brought up Tarantino, and Tarantino is a perfect example of there's always a way around things. You can go black and white. You can turn it into a cartoon. You can input something that will get you past those rating boards, that will get you that. And so long as you know what your audience is and where you're going, you can tailor what you're doing to get your image and your gore and your violence and everything you need across without having to censor yourself.
Definitely. Well, again, since you guys like to push taboos, there have been plenty of movies over the years that have pushed taboos, social at the time. And, of course, Psycho was the first time you saw a toilet got flushed on screen. We could go to, movies like Necromantic, The Human Centipede, Takashi Miike's episode on Masters of Horror. Is there a line, is there a taboo that you guys won't touch?
Oh, yeah, there's one that I won't touch, and this is something that I've said since I worked at Bloody. I've said it. I would never, ever do a film where basically if you look at, what was that movie, Joe? Why am I blanking? The awful one.
The awful one. Serbian film?
Wow.
A Serbian film. Here's the thing is that Serbian film, I sat through it. I've actually watched the film twice from beginning to end, which I've gotten a lot of flack for. People have said, called me crazy for doing it. Once was for an article, I do say, but the second time I went back and watched it just to kind of see why it was the way it was. And I think the one part that I can never is the torture of children in that perspective, where it's actually you're seeing a newborn being tortured. You're seeing, I can't stomach that myself, and it's not something that, even though, children, I mean, obviously Wrath, it's a horror movie based on kids being chased, by an Easter witch. That's different. It's got that Goonies feel to it, but when you're physically, it almost made me sick to watch that movie both times that I watched it, because you're watching children, things happen to children that shouldn't happen. Now, I can get through rape movies, and I've gotten a lot of shit for that one too. I can get through rape movies. I can get through, I love watching Eli's movies because he pushes the boundaries. Quentin pushes boundaries. Scott pushes boundaries. But at the same time, I think there's a line there. Now, Human Centipede, I just thought was just dumb. I didn't think it was that good of a movie in my perspective. And, the director knows how I feel. I've told him multiple times. But I think that, there's a certain line with children that I just can't cross. It's one thing to torture a porn star on film. It's another to torture a child. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I just can't deal.
Oh, and I think it comes down to the torturing of innocence, because I know Andrea has a really hard time seeing
animals,
kids, and I have a hard time with animals because that's just I always get very sick to my stomach when I see something of that nature, especially when it really doesn't add to a film in any way. Anything we do,
right.
I want it to add to the film.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Like, it has to add to the story. It has to be, like, you know, it's like when you watch that scene in Hostel 2, I have a tough time because I love Heather. I think Heather is a great actress, and when you watch her hanging upside down, getting tortured, but the thing is, it adds to the movie. You know, it creates part of what that movie. It's like when, you know, April slices and dices people with a chainsaw and you see blood and guts going everywhere. It's because she's taking revenge. She's a superhero, a really screwed up superhero, but she's there. It's when you see animals or kids getting tortured for no reason that you just want to go, you know, not that something's wrong with the filmmaker, but what would possess you to take it to that level, you know? And I personally couldn't do it. I mean, it bothers me.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as an effects artist, I had to, you know, I'll pretty much do anything as an effects artist, but I'm like you, you know, I have a 13-year-old daughter. So when it comes to, you know, real brutality, when it comes to young children, you know, I draw the line at that kind of stuff too. So I perfectly understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, it bothers me, and I think a lot of it, I mean, obviously, Joanna and I are both big animal lovers. We both have pets. You know, Joanna actually was, you know, she's involved with animals a lot more than I am, but, like, you know, my career path before movies was actually working with kids. You know, I've worked with kids at numerous organizations. I stayed with the Boys and Girls Club for a while, even through, you know, filmmaking. I couldn't imagine, you know, and that was something that, you know, it's hard when you work with kids to be in this industry, period, but it's like you don't want to promote that kind of awful brutality. Now, if it adds something, it adds something. Like, I truthfully think, you know, you look at, you know, Camille Keaton, you look at roles like that, you look at, you know, those rape scenes, and it adds to the movie. I mean, obviously, you know, I Spit on Your Grave, she went apeshit on those guys, and there's a reason for it. That rape added to the story. It's when you do it just to do it. It just doesn't work.
You know, I'm actually reminded of an actress that we used to manage back in the day. That we sat down and had the same kind of discussion with her, and we looked at her and like, what will you do and what will you not do? And she actually looked at us and said, I will do a rape scene over a nude scene.
Yep, she did. And I respected her for it because honestly she was like, you know, I'd rather, if it adds to the story, yes, but she felt like nudity did not add to the story. And I was a little taken aback at the time, but it makes sense. Like when you think of, you know, the logic behind it, and she's an amazing actress, the one that we're thinking of. And I just can't get over, you know, you think about that. I mean, you know, she's like, if it adds to the story, I'll do it. But she felt like nudity wouldn't add to the story. And I mean, in a lot of cases, yeah, nudity doesn't add anything. She had a really good point.
Oh, I agree. Now, let me ask you this. Of course, again, because you guys like to push the boundaries, and you know, we're talking about gore and stuff like that. You know, I'm 10 years older than you, so you know, I'm 38 years old, and when I was growing up, I grew up on like the 70s and 80s style of horror. And yes, you had memorable faces. Yes, you had memorable directors. But particularly in that time, the star of the film was the special effects. You know, with how desensitized audiences, and especially the younger generation, have become towards violence, do you think we see more of the gratuitous gore and nudity because the audience has become so desensitized? They don't, you know, they're not interested in the story. They just want to see people offed in the most awful ways.
You know, there's a lot of, and I actually analyzed, like, especially when you look at early 2000s horror and you look at, you know, the wide range of, you know, torture porn, basically. You look at everything from, you know, Alex Aja's, you look at High Tension. You look at Eli, who came out with Hostel. You look at the Saw films. You know, James Wan did an incredible job. But you look at those, and, like, in the early 2000s, it was still not as much about, it was still, you know, fresh. Like, it wasn't as much of, you know, violence. Like, you even look at, like, the old Godfather films. They weren't as violent as, say, The Sopranos became. So you're looking at it just basically grew, you know, and this was something I've even seen it in my own writing where I'm more, you know, I feel like you sometimes have to add sex and violence to get an audience to watch it. And I think that a lot of filmmakers do that. Now, there's a way to do it, But I think that the story still needs to be important. And I know that Joanna feels that way, too, where it's like, you know, you can have the violence. The violence is cool. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you I will make an awesome torture porn film one day, but there has to be a story. I mean, otherwise it gets lost, and it's like who can, you know, cut off this penis, or who can cut off this head, who can see this much blood, and then you lose sight of the fact that you're just paying attention to, you know, violence, and you want to see like all these crazy things happen, as opposed to what happened to the script, what happened to the story, what happened to the reason that we all became filmmakers in the first place.
Definitely.
Joe?
Yeah, I was just letting you kind of go on your love.
We all know how I feel about this.
Yeah, you know, as far as, you know, towing the line and having audiences desensitized, I don't know if people have become desensitized as so much as that's what they expect to happen next. And nudity and violence and gore, it's all part of a storyline. And, you know, I think that, you know, you referenced the guys who did the torture porn. I think that so much of that almost brought audiences to expect more and more and more, but we're actually taking a step back from that as well, and we're seeing more of a story come back again. And, you know, some of the movies that are top in the box office right now don't have that major gore and almost, I'm trying to think of the right word here, the shock factor. The shock factor comes from the story and from the realization of the characters, as opposed to just having gratuitous sex and violence and gore. And when we say toe the line, it's not to shock audiences. It's to, you know, by showing them images. We're here to shock them with stories.
And I agree. I think it's a lost art. You know, that's why the gems are few and far between.
Yeah,
exactly. The second person I wanted to ask you about was, tell us about your director of live events and associate producer, Ryan Scott.
I love Ryan.
Ryan, our only male
Bill, you can say how we met Ryan.
Well,
Joe?
Ryan, you know, I guess, well, we originally met Ryan because he was on the convention circuit as basically he cosplayed Ghostbusters, and he was with the Ghostbusters in Florida, and so we kind of got to meet him that way and see him around and doing all that, and that's his passion. He loves it, and we had the opportunity to bring Ryan on and kind of offer him a position with Bloody Bombshell because we saw his passion. We saw what he wanted to do, and we felt that bringing him on would be able to nurture and develop that love and desire to, you know, do the same thing we were doing. And when we say director of live events, we're actually working on a Comic-Con back in our hometown in Billings, Montana, and Ryan is going to help us head that up, and
nice.
We're very, very excited about it.
And Ryan has a deep passion for, you know, he's really talented. I mean, Ryan has a really good eye for cinema. He has a really good eye for, I mean, he helps us with so much stuff. I don't even know where to begin. And when we sat down with Ryan, I mean, I was blunt. You know, he came to us very early on, and I said, you're not going to get paid. It's a passion project, and, you know, we're all still working day jobs. And, I mean, this was a while ago, but I was like, you know, do you want to do this? And he looked me in the eye, and we were sitting down having coffee, and he said, yes, I want to do this. And I have never believed somebody as much as I believed him. Like, even Kayla had, like, you know, she took a step back for a while and was like, I don't know about certain things. You know, she would feel it out. But Ryan was very like, yes, this is what I want. And I've always respected him for it. And plus, he's the only guy, basically, that works with us full time. Like, yes, Scotty's involved, but, you know, Scotty's like our dad. He's not a guy. But you have Ryan, who's like, you know, Ryan's in the middle of it. I sometimes feel bad for him, surrounded by all this estrogen, but he's holding in there, and he's doing a really good job, and he's going to get an opportunity to work on a lot of films this year, and, you know, he's doing a great job. I mean, Ryan came to us at the right time, and we're very thankful to have him.
Now, one of the last person I'm going to ask you about, and you know, I think it's a very important person, you know, being a smaller person in the industry like myself, I understand how self-promotion and everything works. And I'd have to say that your manager and publicist, Jennifer Boxer, did a great job when she contacted Horror Society about you guys and Bloody Bombshell. And, you know, I just wanted to say thank you to her for getting you guys on here. Can you guys kind of talk about how important Jennifer is to your day-to-day operations?
Everybody needs to keep her. I mean, honestly, we get so overwhelmed, and I think this is something that, you know, a lot of people don't see the side of us on unless you follow my Facebook feed and see how nuts our life is. But, you know, literally I wake up at 6 a.m. I work on this all day, and it's taking meetings, it's doing finances, it's doing, you know, pitches, it's taking meetings with, you know, clients and production partners and, you know, executives, and this goes on all day, and, you know, we don't get time to, you know, put our press opportunities together or, you know, speak with our sponsors or look at our appearances because we do, you know, travel the convention circuit, and a lot of things get overlooked. But, I mean, Jenny does everything. She manages our calendar. She reaches out to people. I mean, she was the one who basically told me to let it go and just hand stuff over, and it's been a godsend to have someone that, you know, we can depend on and take stuff to and have her kind of take over the part of it that, you know, we don't have time for anymore. And I didn't think we'd get to this point this early, but we did. And, I mean, Jennifer's been awesome. She definitely, she's another one that came to us at the right time when we really needed help and, you know, just basically someone to kind of guide us along the way.
Well, I mean, when we're so busy with production and making all of these projects happen and everything, you need that promotion in order to really gain the attention and to gain the backing and the followers. And when you're trying to work full-time on production, sometimes, you know, the last hour of the day, you don't really have that time to put into the promotion that you need. So the fact that we have Jennifer to really handle this for us has been an amazing thing. She is able to reach out to so many more people on a daily basis than we are and what we would be trying to do on our own. And, you know, she helps us out with booking conventions, booking appearances, booking these interviews, which are so vital and so awesome, and granted, also a great part of our day. Andrea and I love doing these, and we were so happy that, you know, we were able to come on here tonight with you. You know, she's worth the weight in gold. I'm glad to have you guys on.
I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, you guys have ascended to a higher level, but, you know, like I said, I know what it's like to be out there in the trenches and doing it. So any chance I have, you know, to promote people of your talent and your caliber who, you know, actually believe in it and want to do it, you're always welcome on the show. I mean, always know that.
Well, and we appreciate that because, you know, it's one of those things, too, where a lot of people forget where they came from. And, you know, I've met a lot of egos, especially in the horror genre, and you know, I'm sure that anybody that listens to this broadcast who has, like, you know, known me or had an argument with me, they're going to know who I'm talking about. I mean, there's some egos out there who just need to be knocked down a few pegs and calm down. I mean, it's about the art. It's about, you know, horror is such a tight-knit community that you need to give back to that community. And, you know, Joanna and I, when we started this venture, and even Scotty, I mean, he's really, really good about doing interviews with us and, you know, being a part of, like, our promotional. And, I mean, you know, Scotty, we actually did judging for a screenwriting competition recently as a favor, and Scotty judged scripts with me. So, I mean, it's really hands-on with what we do. We're never not going to do a podcast or an interview or, a photo spread because somebody, you know, we're too big for that. And that's the part that, you know, we appreciate, you know, the support because we want to come back and support you guys as well.
Yeah, so long as we have the time, we are more than happy to do it.
Oh, I mean, and again, I would, you know, I'd love to have you on. I'd love to have Scotty on one day too. You know, I would, you know,
I'm sure
talk
he'd
about
love
his
to
career.
do it. He will talk a lot, but he'll love to do it.
I'm so down for that. Well, you know, you talked about Jennifer and her scheduling the conventions. Now, when you guys go to all of these conventions, you know, you guys aren't going as, I mean, you're going as fans, but of course you're also looking at it from an operating standpoint. You know, when you go to a convention, give the fans an idea of what you're looking for when you go.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know what's
funny
I know
you guys do like a lot of scouting and stuff, so.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for us, you know, and we enjoy it. I mean, the first convention that I ever went to was back in 2010. It was when I was working for Bloody Disgusting. I went to Spooky Empire in Orlando, And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I became a fanatic at that point. It's like you go to one and it's like a bad drug. You have to go to like 20 more. And I didn't realize, you know, I took Joanna with me to the Empire it was about a year after. And, you know, it's an experience. I mean, we do everything from networking to managing clients because, like we said, you know, we still have Chris and Vernon and Jimmy and April, and, you know, we tend to take on, you know, people that we otherwise, you know, we babysit a lot, but in a good way. You know, we say it's like glorify babysitting. We love, you know, helping them with their fans and, you know, getting coffee and getting water, but even more so now that we have the production company, we find ourselves promoting our projects and networking. And, you know, that's how Nicholas Brendan came into play with Chainsaw Sally. We did Tensicon with him, you know, back in February. We met him at the convention, and we convinced him to sign on, and he agreed. You know, we got to meet with him. And then James Leary, who was also on Buffy, he actually wrote a script that we're producing. He wrote Sleeper, and that script is amazing. And we wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for us going to the convention. So, you know, we see it as an opportunity to not only connect with our fans and connect with, you know, those who want to come out and see our panels and, you know, talk to me. I have quite a few fans who have followed me since Bloody Disgusting, which is surreal in my brain. But, you know, we get a lot of those and we enjoy it. I mean, Joanna and I especially, we really love connecting with people and meeting new people and, you know, just getting the word out there about our projects and expanding on who we know, too, because it's all about networking in this industry, and Joanna and I have embraced that.
And plus, it's really fun.
Now, oh, yeah.
That too.
I mean, you know,
I've gone to quite a few strip clubs and hung out with cool kids, and, you know, I bought comic books. I bought a zombie bear at Pensacon, so, you know, it's not like we don't have fun, but it is a lot of hard work.
You know, what would you say, you know, when you go to these and you know, you get the advantage of seeing, you know, the genre fans' faces when they see movies that are, you know, they're showing for screenings and things about that, you know, things like that. You know, to give filmmakers an idea, you know, what are you looking for when you're looking at crowd reactions to films that are screening at these events?
Well, you're hoping that their eyes are open. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, we don't want them sleeping. That's a good thing.
You're definitely looking for them to be on the edge of their seats, to, you know, wanting to see more and being invested in what they're seeing on the screen and being excited to see that first look. And that's always something that you want to see. You know, we had the opportunity to see American Mary actually shown before it was released out, and the people that were sitting there watching it, they were enthralled. It was the best thing that had happened to them at that point in time in their lives, to be able to see a film that they'd been following and hoping for and see it right there in front of them before anybody else could get their hands on it was such a joy to them. And that's what you want to see. You want to see joy on these people's faces. You want to see all of your love for a project reflected on their faces.
Now,
exactly.
We have about 5 minutes left. Kind of tell us a little bit. There are several projects on both of your IMDb pages. What can you tell us about Red Red, 317, and Wrath?
You know what's funny is Red Red actually kind of fell in my lap. I'm really good friends. Emma, who's actually the director, she's amazing. I mean, she's definitely another up-and-coming female filmmaker who, I mean, you definitely should watch. She was actually one of the runners-up for the ABCs of Death Part 2, the contest that they had. And she is actually getting featured on, I can't remember what the deal was, but, I mean, the film was so good that they couldn't ignore it. And Red Red was actually her intro to Argento, basically her, you know, praise of Argento, and it came out so beautiful. And I mean, Joanna and I were happy to produce that for her. We handled all of her locations as much as we could. I mean, we were actually doing it long distance. It was one of the hardest producing jobs we've ever had. But
yeah, we
did handle it. Yeah, I mean, we had everything wrong that you could possibly think of going wrong with that film, but at the same time, Alma was able to produce such an amazing film and put, you know, as a female filmmaker who writes her own films, I mean, she did a brilliant job. So, you know, hopefully she'll have the final director's cut done soon. We're just kind of waiting for for her to tell us that it's good to go. But aside from that, 317 is actually, I just gave the script to my lead actress tonight, so she finally has the script. It's going to be my first time behind the director's, basically my first time being a director. Joanna might go crazy trying to handle me on this one because I'm going to go insane. But it's a short film. I mean, it's a short film thriller. It's going to be really bloody and gory, but it's going to be really good. And my lead actress is actually she's my Zumba instructor. So, Chrissy, hi. I'm glad you're doing the film. And then Joanna, you want to talk about Wrath?
Yeah,
yeah,
317
please.
is basically an excuse for us to play with blood. And then Wrath has basically become our baby right now. That is one of the scripts, the reason why Bloody Bombshell really exists right now. It is the script that Scott fell in love with. It was written by Alex Sosin, and Scott has actually decided to come on as director for it. And we couldn't be happier with it. Alex is over the moon. Alex is a first-time writer, and this will be his first production coming through. It is a kind of coming-of-age story, a lot like he wrote as a homage to the old 80s films like Jaws and Stand By Me, and a lot of that kind of genre film that he grew up with. And Scott fell in love with it, too. He loved that old 80s vibe. It gels a lot with his old previous films, and the two of them collaborated on it to create what we have today, the running script that we have right now. Tim Quill is going to be part of it. Vernon Wells is going to be a part of it. We already have Minnesota locked on as our location, and the Minnesota Film Commission is completely behind us 100%. They are very excited to have us come up there. We have a great casting director online. We have Richard Pagano, and, every day being able to see more and more Wrath come together, it's like watching a child growing up, and we haven't even gotten to the really awesome part yet. We were actually just featured in Rue Morgue the last month or so, maybe 2 months ago.
It was the Godzilla issue, so it was it was the Godzilla issue, so about 2 issues ago now. We were featured in their deadlines. Scott did an interview with them, talked all about Wrath, which is it is a Swedish Easter feature. Basically, this witch comes back during Swedish Easter to chase these 2 young boys who are brothers, and it's their run for survival throughout the night. And you see them and their tasks and the perils that they have to go through in order to escape what should be a childhood tale that has actually come to life and is now hunting to kill them.
That sounds like fun.
I mean, with all these projects, every single one that's coming up is just awesome. Like, I'm really excited to do my short film. I mean, my poor Zumba instructor, I'm about to put her through hell. But I think it's going to be a really great film. I'm excited to, actually get into the director's seat, because this will be the first time that I've ever done that. But like Scott said, you got to put your hands on a camera so you know how to use it. Basically, I got to jump in eventually, especially since I do want to do 2 features in the next couple of years. And, even with our clients, I mean, just to kind of recap Bloody Bombshell, I mean, we're growing every single day in terms of, we have almost 30 productions that we're working on full time. It's a little crazy. I mean, we're doing everything from our reality show to, we have a couple of documentaries that are on board, to our television projects, to Chainsaw Sally, to, Kayla has an amazing project that she's working on that she's at the helm of, and Wrath. I mean, it all comes down to we lucked out, and we get to do what we love, and we have some amazing clients. I mean, we couldn't be more grateful for, obviously Chris and Vernon, but even our new clients. Jenny's actually managing, 3 new clients, Michael Krosky, Greg French, and Michael Yeagers, and I mean, they're great. They're working with Jenny on their appearances and getting involved, more in the film industry. And, like I said, James Leary and Nicholas Brendan have been amazing. We're just very grateful. I mean, we've had a really good run of it, and, Alex Sosin has just blossomed with us, and Jimmy O and April are going to, continue to move up and move forward. And even Michael Jacobs, he's one of our writers that wrote an incredible, it's actually a Jewish mafia script that we're going to be working on. So it's a little bit of everything, and we're just really excited for what the future holds.
Oh, and I also like to give out a shout-out to Sarah Caldwell. She just signed on for a development agreement with us as well, and so that's another female perspective. She's a writer. She's going to be producing with us, so that's going to be an exciting one as well that we'll get to talk about more later.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, you guys have made it to the next level, and, you've put in the hard work, the perseverance, everything you need to make it. What would be your advice to upcoming filmmakers?
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Jinx.
That even when you want to give up, even when you think that there's nothing else left to do, there's always something to do, and there's always your heart and your passion you can put into it. It's tough, and I'm not going to say it's always going to be easy. I'm not going to say that you're not going to probably end up sleeping on a futon in your best friend's office or something.
True story. True story.
There.
Joanna did sleep in my office for years.
I think we all have a story like that. Anyone who's worked on film has a story like that.
So long as you have a passion.
Even don't be lazy. I mean, this is something that, when I've done my panels time and time again and people have asked me what, the secret to what we do, don't be lazy. If you have to work a day job to get your movie done, work a day job. Don't tell me that you can't work a day job and do your dream, because we've all done it. Joanna's been a bartender. I worked with kids. Ryan has had a day job. Jenny's had a day job. I mean, shoot, Jennifer actually has a child, so it's not like we're telling, people, just to drop everything. You have to make it your focus. There's going to be days when it's rough. I'm not saying it is, but if you truly want to do it, don't be lazy and don't give up. And hard work is what happens. And yes, it's a lot of networking and who you know, and I'm not going to lie and say it's always been easy for us, but at the same time, if you really want it, it's true in any industry, whether you're a musician or a filmmaker or, you want to be a female basketball coach, which is awesome that they hired one in the NBA today. So even if you want to do that, I mean, you have to work your ass off. Nothing gets handed to you in this life. So, I mean, if you work for it, it's going to happen, but you have to put that heart and soul into it.
And if I could add one more thing as kind of like a trifecta as far as, advice, it's don't make excuses. Whatever you do in this lifetime, own it.
Well, definitely rules to live by. Ladies, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show. Like I said, I will gladly have you on again. Bring Scott, bring whoever you want.
Absolutely.
Just let me know.
And I do want to point this out. Ryan actually has a child, too. I guess that he just, was freaking out because he has a child. Him and Jennifer actually have a child together, and he wanted to make a point that he's a parent. Yes, Ryan is an awesome dad, so let me put that out there.
Fair enough. Before I let you go, do you want to give website addresses, Facebook, Twitter, anything like that so fans can follow you guys?
Absolutely. Andrea, take it away. I think I did this last time we did an interview.
We did. If you want to find our main website, it's pretty easy, bloodybombshell.com. You can find me on Twitter, Andrea Albin, and Joanna Shirley's on Twitter, too. All of us are actually on Twitter. You can find Kayla, you can find Ryan, you can find Jenny. You just have to kind of search for it. But if you do Bloody, it looks like Bloody Bent, but it's Bloody BENT is our Twitter handle. And then, of course, we do have Facebook pages for Fatality Films, Bloody Bombshell Entertainment, and I have my own fan page as well. So basically just Google us and you'll find all of our stuff.
Essentially, there's a lot of stuff out there, so...
Well, ladies, again, thank you so much for being on. I'm glad to see talented, driven people out there continuing to drive the industry, and I look forward to having you guys on again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. Anytime. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say thank you to our outstanding guests, Andrea Albin and Joanna Shirley of Bloody Bombshell Entertainment. I have a feeling that we're going to be talking about those young ladies for a lot of years to come. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to do our Digital Dismemberment, Scream Factory, Motel Hell, Blu-ray and DVD combo pack review. But before that, we're going to go into our next Metal Blade Spotlight. We're going to go with the brand new Dragon Force off of the CD Maximum Overload. The song is Symphony of the Night.
Hiding in the fog where darkness meets the moonlight, I will sing a melody till the morning comes. Living for you only, take my hand and show me there will be much sorrow when the morning comes.
Force from the CD Maximum Overload. The song was Symphony of the Night. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word tonight. But it is time for our next digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in our second digital dismemberment this evening, we are going to be reviewing Scream Factory's Blu-ray and DVD combo release of Motel Hell. I mean, out gates, first off, one of my favorite movies from when I was growing up. I mean, classically remember this movie. Hits shelves August 12th, 2014. People come from far and wide to sample Farmer Vincent's distinctively flavored dried smoked sausages. But one might well ask why there are so few people staying at the nearby kitschy Motel Hello. Also, have you ever wondered about the secret ingredients that makes his meat taste so darn good? The 80s cult classic horror comedy film Motel Hell, directed by Kevin Connor, takes on a frighteningly funny look into the different kinds of critters that make up Farmer Vincent's fritters, with plenty of surprises. On August 12, 2014, Shout Factory is bringing Motel Hell Collector's Edition Blu-ray and DVD combo pack to home entertainment shelves in the U.S. and Canada. Packed with insightful bonus content and all-new interviews, this definitive collector's edition also contains a collectible cover featuring newly rendered retro-style artwork, a reversible cover wrap with original theatrical key art. A must-have for collectors and horror enthusiasts, Motel Hell Collector's Edition Blu-ray and DVD combo pack is priced to own at $29.93. Avid fans and collectors, please take note. Those who order a Motel Hell Collector's Edition from ScreamFactoryDVD.com will receive an exclusive 18x24 poster featuring the newly commissioned artwork. These are only available while supplies last. A film by Kevin Connor, This Crazy Chiller stars Rory Calhoun, Paul Link, Nancy Parsons, Nina Axelrod, and legendary DJ Wolfman Jack. While many of its contemporaries were literally trying to scare the wit out of people, Motel Hell balanced horror with humor, making audiences cringe and laugh at its lurid tale. A modest success upon its theatrical release, video rentals and cable showings have kept it alive and solidified its slasher status. Its creepy chainsaw battle still excites today. To give you a little bit more of a background about the film, Farmer Vincent Smith, played by Calhoun, and his sister Ida, played by Parsons, runs the respectable Motel Hello, where they also produce and sell popular meat products. But the wonderful flavor that makes up Vincent's locally legendary smoked meats has a special ingredient. Their secret garden is filled with animals that they ambush, capture, and raise buried in the earth. But when the seemingly kind couple, who gleefully dispatch their victims with aplomb, take in and care for a young woman played by Nina Axelrod, who survives a motorcycle accident, she creates a rivalry between Vincent and his unsuspecting, slow-witted sheriff brother, played by Paul Link, for her affection. Will the sibling squabble unravel Vincent and Ida's undercover enterprise? You know, there's a lot about this film that really makes it stand out. Its release time was 1980, so you're bridging the gap from the 70s to the 80s. This was as slasher films were kind of starting to take over the industry. And what was, very unique, and it's discussed in the special features, but what's very unique about the film is how it managed to blend the humor in. Director Kevin Connor, English director, speaks very much about, it's very tongue-in-cheek, but he played it very straightforward as well, and I really think that helps to lend to the tone. You had producers and writers, Robert Jaffe and Stephen Charles Jaffe, also talk about, how the script came to be, working with Kevin Conner, having the actors that they used, Rory Calhoun, Nancy Parsons, Nina Axelrod, of course. It all just really blended well together. It's very interesting. The special features go into a lot of details on certain things. You have a new audio commentary with director Kevin Conner and moderated by filmmaker Dave Parker. That's new for this. Also new for this release, It Takes All Kinds, The Making of Motel Hell. And that's a conglomeration of interviews with director Kevin Conner, the producers and writers Robert Jaffe and Stephen Charles Jaffe, and actor Mark Silver. And it's really cool when you listen to their interactions and how things went between one another on the sets. It really shows that they had a really great time making this film. Another new feature is Shooting Old School with cinema photographer Thomas Del Ruth. And it was really interesting hearing his take on how he shot the film and how much of a cult status that the film has today. There's another head on the chopping block, an interview with actor Paul Link, and excuse me, I found that to be a pretty cool interview. He talks about, his acting with Nina Axelrod, lighting in certain scenes, how the role was specifically written for him. So, there's a lot of personal information there that I think was really good. You had From Glamour to Gore an interview with actress Roseanne Catan, who was, of course, a Playboy Playmate back in the day. And she talks about going to see the film and at some of the new showings of the film, taking her young son to go see it. So that was kind of cool, too. Another feature that I really liked was Ida Be Thy Name. It was a look back at Motel Hell's frightful female protagonist, Ida Smith. And they had several women, from within the industry, writers, actresses, who discussed her character and the importance of the character in genre history. You had the theatrical trailer, you had the photo galleries. What I really, really liked is Scream Factory added 4 trailers from other films that they've produced, and I've been waiting for them to do that for a while. That was just an absolute magnificent way to do it. And they're not the retouched trailers, they're the old trailers, so it's amazing. The Blu-ray is a 1080p high-definition widescreen, 1.85.1, DTS HD Master Audio Stereo. The DVD is anamorphic widescreen, 1.85.1 Dolby Digital Stereo. It's color, 101 minutes, rated R. I would highly, highly recommend this. Again, this is one of my favorite films from my childhood. The scene where Calhoun comes out with the pig's head on and the chainsaw duel is absolutely fantastic. It's definitely got a comedic element, but I think it's that comedic element that really helps bring this film to more of a demented level that has made it the cult classic that it is today. Definitely a must-own. I give the film a 9 out of 10 on its own merit. I also give the DVD a 9 out of 10. Scream Factory, once again, well above and beyond the Call of Duty for everything that they've managed to cram into this. And I have to admit that the retro cover art is absolutely freaking amazing. Head on over to Scream or ShoutFactory.com and pick up a copy of this DVD Blu-ray as quickly as you can. I believe you can download it off of iTunes, your big box retailers, Amazon, everything like that. When we come back, we will give our thanks to everyone that was out on the show today, give out a little bit more product detail, and close our evening out. So our last song in our Metal Blade Spotlight tonight is from Dictated, off of the CDs The Deceived. The song is No Absolution. The name of the CD is The Deceived. The song was No Absolution. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we had a really, really great night. First of all, I would love to say thank you to my guests this evening. We had Andrea Albin and Joanna Shirley of Bloody Bombshell Entertainment on to discuss everything that they've got going on and their thoughts about everything that's going on in the film industry today. We also had Eugene Normal on from the Northern Arizona Horror Society. And hopefully when he gets some stuff going on out there, he'll hit us back and let me know what's going on. I want to say thank you to my friend Tom Chen out at Scream Factory for sending me the Blu-ray release of Motel Hell, as well as thank you to my friends out at Entertainment One for my copy of Stitches. And we want to say thank you to our friends at Metal Blade. Thank you, Kelly, for giving us such great music as we had just heard dictated the brand new Dragon Force, King of Asgard, and Channel Zero. It's been fun tonight, and like I said, thank you to all of my guests that have been on, and make sure to tune in same time next week for another show. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, rest in peace.